My name is Lauren Mitchell, and I'm 32 years old. For 15 years, I thought I had a best friend, someone who supported me, celebrated my wins, and had my back no matter what. Her name was Caitlin. And for 15 years, she's been systematically destroying my life behind my back while pretending to be my biggest supporter. I met Caitlin when we were 17, first day of senior year. She was new to the school, didn't know anyone, and looked lost in the hallway. I introduced myself, showed her around, invited her to sit with me at lunch. We clicked immediately. Same sense of humor, same taste in music, same dreams of getting out of our small town and doing something big with our lives. We became inseparable. After graduation, we both got into the same state university. We were roommates all 4 years. We studied together, went to parties together, supported each other through breakups and family drama and the stress of college. When we graduated, we both moved to Chicago to start our careers. Caitlin went into marketing, I went into advertising. Different fields, but similar enough that we understood each other's work struggles. We'd meet for drinks after work and complain about our bosses, celebrate our wins, and dream about climbing the corporate ladder together. She was my person, the friend I called when something good happened, the one I cried to when things went wrong, the one who knew all my secrets, all my insecurities, all my dreams. I trusted her completely. About 5 years ago, I started noticing something strange. I'd go into job interviews feeling confident, and then the energy would shift. Interviewers would ask weird questions, probing questions about my work ethic or my ability to work in teams, things that felt out of nowhere. I didn't get jobs I was clearly qualified for. I'd make it to final rounds and then suddenly get rejected with vague explanations. It's a competitive field, I told myself. Not everyone gets the job they want. Then 3 years ago, I was up for a major promotion at my agency, Senior Creative Director. It was the role I'd been working toward for years. I'd led successful campaigns, brought in new clients, mentored junior staff. My boss had basically told me the job was mine. I just need to run it by the partners, he said. But it's really just a formality. You've earned this. I was ecstatic. I called Caitlin immediately. She screamed with excitement. "Oh my God, Lauren," she said. "This is amazing. You deserve this so much. I'm so proud of you." We went out to celebrate that night. She kept toasting to my success, telling me how she always knew I'd make it, how I was going to be the youngest senior creative director the agency had ever had. 2 weeks later, my boss called me into his office. I walked in expecting paperwork to sign, maybe a discussion about my new salary. Instead, he looked uncomfortable. "Lauren," he said, "I need to talk to you about the promotion." "Okay," I said, confused by his tone. "Is there a problem?" "The partners have decided to go in a different direction," he said. "We're promoting Marcus instead." "Marcus?" I said. Marcus had been there half as long as me. He was talented, sure, but he didn't have my track record. Why? My boss shifted in his seat. "They had some concerns," he said, "about your leadership abilities, about your reliability." "My leadership abilities? I've been leading teams for 3 years. Who said I wasn't reliable?" "I can't get into specifics," he said, "but some feedback came up during the review process that made the partners reconsider." "What feedback?" I demanded. "From who?" "I'm not at liberty to say," he told me. "I'm sorry, Lauren. I fought for you, but the decision's been made." I left his office feeling gutted. I'd worked so hard for that promotion. I'd sacrificed weekends, stayed late countless nights, poured everything into my work, and someone had said something that cost me the opportunity. I called Caitlin crying. She met me at a bar near my office. "That's so unfair," she said, rubbing my back while I tried not to sob in public. "You deserve that promotion. Marcus is nowhere near your level." "I know," I said, "but someone told the partners I wasn't reliable or a good leader. Who would say that?" Caitlin shook her head. "I have no idea. Maybe a jealous coworker? You know how cutthroat advertising can be." "I guess," I said, "but I can't figure out who would do this. Everyone on my team likes me." "Maybe it wasn't someone on your team," Caitlin suggested. "Maybe it was someone from outside. You network a lot. Maybe someone you met at an event said something." "Why would they do that?" I asked. Caitlin shrugged. People are weird, competitive. Maybe someone felt threatened by you. The conversation moved on. Caitlin ordered us another round of drinks and tried to cheer me up. You'll get the next one, she said. This is just a setback. You're too talented not to succeed. I appreciated her support. She was the only person I felt like I could talk to about how devastated I was. 6 months later, I found out I didn't get another job I'd interviewed for, a creative director position at a different agency. I'd made it through 4 rounds of interviews. The hiring manager seemed to love me. Then suddenly, thanks, but no thanks. I started to wonder if there was something wrong with me. Was I bad at interviews? Was there something about me that made companies not want to hire me? I brought it up to Caitlin during one of our weekly dinners. Do you think there's something wrong with the way I present myself? I asked. Like, do I come across badly in professional settings? What? No, she said. You're great. You're confident, articulate, talented. Any company would be lucky to have you. Then why do I keep getting rejected? I asked. I don't know, she said. But don't take it personally. The job market is tough right now. Maybe it's just bad timing. I tried to believe her, but the rejections kept coming. And not just for jobs. I'd pitch ideas in meetings at my current job, and they'd get shot down. I'd suggest campaigns, and my boss would assign them to other people. I felt like I was becoming invisible at work, like everything I did was being undermined. Then last year, something happened that made me start to question everything. I ran into an old colleague, someone who had worked at the agency where I'd interviewed for that creative director position. We got coffee and caught up. She mentioned that position I'd interviewed for. Oh yeah, she said, I heard you were in the running for that. You would have been great. Thanks, I said. I thought it went well, but I guess they went with someone else. She made a face. Yeah, after they got that phone call. Phone call? She looked uncomfortable. I probably shouldn't say anything. No, please, I said. What phone call? She hesitated. Then she said, someone called the hiring manager and told them you had a reputation for being difficult to work with, that you'd been passed over for promotions at your current job because of interpersonal issues. My stomach dropped. That's not true, any of it. I know, she said quickly. That's why I'm telling you. It seemed off. The hiring manager was all set to offer you the job and then got this anonymous call and completely changed their mind. Who called? I asked. They wouldn't say. Just that it was someone who claimed to have worked with you and wanted to give them a heads up. An anonymous call. Someone had deliberately sabotaged my job prospect. Who would do that? I started thinking about everyone who knew I was interviewing. I hadn't told many people, just my close friends, just Caitlin. No, I told myself, Caitlin wouldn't do that. She's my best friend. She'd been nothing but supportive. But the thought stuck. I started paying closer attention. A month later, I was telling Caitlin about a new client I was trying to land. It was a big deal, a tech startup with a huge budget. If I brought them in, it would be a major win for me and might finally get me that promotion I'd been passed over for. That's amazing, Caitlin said. How did you connect with them? A mutual contact, I told her. We're meeting next week to discuss their needs. I'm putting together a pitch deck this weekend. Can't wait to hear how it goes, she said. The meeting was scheduled for Tuesday. On Monday, I got a call from the startup's CEO. We've decided to go with another agency, he said. Oh, I said, confused. We haven't even met yet. How did you make that decision? We did our research, he said vaguely. Thanks for your interest. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. That made no sense. We hadn't even pitched yet. How did they suddenly decide we weren't right? I called the mutual contact who'd connected us.
Do you know what happened? I asked. The startup CEO just called and said they're going with someone else. She sighed. Yeah, I heard. Apparently someone reached out to them and told them your agency was struggling financially and might not be around long enough to complete their campaign. That's insane, I said. We're one of the most stable agencies in Chicago. Who told them that? I don't know, she said, but whoever it was seemed to know you were meeting with them. They called on Friday. Friday. 2 days after I'd told Caitlin about the meeting. I felt sick. No, I thought. She wouldn't. But I had to know. I started testing her. Nothing obvious, just small things. I'd mentioned a job opportunity I was considering, and watch what happened. Without fail, within a week, that opportunity would fall through. Someone would call the company with negative information about me, or I'd get an email saying they'd decided to go in a different direction. It was always vague, always untraceable, but the pattern was clear. Every time I told Caitlin about something good in my career, it disappeared. I felt like I was losing my mind. My best friend of 15 years couldn't be sabotaging me. Could she? I confided in my sister. "You think Caitlin is deliberately ruining your career?" she asked. "It sounds paranoid," I said, "but every single time I tell her about an opportunity, it falls through. And people keep saying someone called or reached out with negative information about me." My sister frowned. "Have you ever noticed if she's jealous of you?" "Not really," I said. "I mean, she has a good career too. She's doing well." "But is she doing as well as you?" my sister asked. "When you two talk about work, does she seem genuinely happy for you, or does she change the subject?" I thought about it. Caitlin had been promoted twice in the past 5 years. I'd been promoted once before getting passed over. We made similar money, but when I really thought about it, every time I had a win, Caitlin's enthusiasm felt forced. She'd say, "Congratulations," but then quickly move the conversation to something else. And she always had a story about her own success to share right after. "You need to test her," my sister said. "Tell her something fake, something big. See what happens." I felt gross even considering it, but I had to know. So I invented a job opportunity. I told Caitlin I'd been headhunted for a VP of creative position at a major agency. It wasn't true. There was no job. But I gave her specific details: the agency name, the role, the salary. She seemed excited. "Oh my God, Lauren," she said. "VP? That's huge. Are you going to interview?" "I think so," I said. "They reached out to me directly, said they'd been following my work. They want to meet next week." "Keep me posted," she said. "I will," I told her. Then I waited. 3 days later, I got a LinkedIn message from the creative director at the agency I'd mentioned. "Just a heads up," the message said. "Someone reached out to our HR department claiming to be a former colleague of yours. They said you'd been fired from a previous position for stealing client ideas and presenting them as your own. Obviously, we're not hiring for a VP position, and you never applied here, so I'm guessing someone is trying to damage your reputation. Thought you should know." My hands were shaking as I read it. There it was. Proof. Caitlin had reached out to that agency based on the fake information I'd given her and tried to sabotage me. Again. I sat there feeling like my entire world was collapsing. 15 years of friendship, 15 years of trust, and she'd been destroying my career the whole time? Why? What had I done to her? I needed more proof, something concrete I could use. So I set up another test. I created a fake email account and sent Caitlin a message pretending to be a recruiter at a company I was supposedly interviewing with. I mentioned my name and asked if she knew me professionally, saying I'd listed her as a reference. She took the bait. She replied to the fake recruiter email. "Lauren and I have been friends for many years. While she's talented in some areas, I feel obligated to share some concerns. She has a history of taking credit for other people's work. She's also been passed over for several promotions due to poor leadership skills and difficulty working with teams. Additionally, she's been known to speak negatively about colleagues behind their backs. I would be happy to discuss this further if you need more information." I stared at that email for an hour. This was my best friend, the person I'd trusted with everything, and she'd been actively, deliberately destroying every professional opportunity I had for 15 years. I printed the email. Then I started digging through old records. I requested information from companies I'd interviewed with, asking for notes about why I wasn't hired. Several of them mentioned receiving concerning references, though they couldn't provide details due to privacy policies. But the pattern was there. I compiled everything into a folder. The fake email recruiter, the testimonies from colleagues who'd heard about anonymous calls, the timeline showing every opportunity I lost right after telling Caitlin about it. Then I invited Caitlin for dinner. She showed up, cheerful as always, hugging me and asking about my week. We ordered drinks and appetizers. She told me about a new project she was working on, a big campaign for a national brand. "That's amazing," I said. "Congratulations." "Thanks," she said. "I'm really excited about it. How are things with you? Anything new?" "Actually, yeah," I said. "I've been doing some reflecting lately about my career, about why things haven't gone the way I planned." She made a sympathetic face. "I know it's been tough, but you're talented, Lauren. Things will turn around." "Will they?" I asked. "Or will someone keep calling my potential employers and telling me I'm difficult to work with?" Her expression didn't change. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the fake recruiter email, the one she'd responded to. Her face went pale. "Where did you get that?" "I sent it," I said. "There's no recruiter. There's no job. I set it up to see if you were the one sabotaging me. And you are." "Lauren, I can explain," she started. "Explain what?" I asked. "Explain why you've been destroying my career for 15 years? Why you've been calling my potential employers and lying about me? Why you've been pretending to be my best friend while actively working against me?" "I didn't," she started. "I have proof. Not just this email. I have testimonies from people you called. I have a timeline showing every opportunity I lost right after telling you about it."
"I know what you've been doing, Caitlin." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "You always had everything so easy." "Easy?" I repeated. "You think my life has been easy?" "Yes," she said. And there was venom in her voice now. "Perfect Lauren with her perfect ideas and her perfect reputation. Everyone loves you. Everyone wants to work with you. Do you know what it's like being your friend, always being compared to you?" "I never compared us," I said. "Maybe you didn't," she said, "but everyone else did. People would ask me how I felt watching you succeed. Like I was supposed to just be happy standing in your shadow." "So you decided to tear me down," I said. "Instead of just working on your own success, you decided to sabotage mine." "I just wanted things to be fair," she said. "You got opportunities handed to you. I had to fight for everything. So I leveled the playing field? By lying about me? By costing me jobs and promotions? By destroying my reputation?" "You still have a career," she said defensively. "You're fine." "I'm not fine," I said. "I've spent years thinking I was failing, thinking something was wrong with me. Do you know what that does to a person? Having your best friend, the person you trust most, secretly destroying everything you work for?" "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said, but there was no real remorse in her voice. "Then where did you mean for it to go?" I asked. She didn't answer. I stood up. "We're done," I told her. "As friends, as anything. Don't contact me again." "Lauren, wait," she said. "There's nothing else to say," I told her. "You made your choice. Now you get to live with it." I walked out of the restaurant. She didn't follow me. Over the next week, I sent copies of all my evidence to the companies Caitlin worked for, both her current employer and several clients she'd worked with over the years. I explained what she'd been doing, using her professional network to spread false information about me, pretending to give references while actively sabotaging someone's career. Her employer called me to verify the information. I walked them through everything. The timeline, the fake recruiter email, the testimonies from colleagues. "This is very serious," the HR representative said. "If what you're saying is true, this is a violation of our ethics policy and potentially illegal." "It's true," I said, "and I have documentation for all of it." They launched an investigation. Within 2 weeks, Caitlin was fired, not just for what she did to me, but because they discovered she'd done similar things to other people. Colleagues she felt threatened by, competitors she wanted to undermine. She wasn't her only victim. I was just the longest running one.
She tried calling me after she got fired, left voicemails crying saying I'd ruined her life, that I'd gone too far. I didn't respond. Then she tried a different approach. She sent me a long email explaining her side. "I was jealous," she wrote. "I know that's not an excuse, but it's the truth. You were always better than me at everything. More creative, more charismatic, more successful. I felt like I was invisible next to you. So I started doing small things to slow you down. It was never supposed to be this big. I was just trying to keep up." But here's the thing. I never asked her to compete with me. I never treated our friendship like a competition. She created that dynamic in her head and then punished me for it. I didn't respond to the email. Instead, I did something else. I wrote a detailed post on LinkedIn about what had happened. I didn't name Caitlin directly, but I talked about the experience of having a close friend sabotage my career for years, about the toll it took on my mental health and professional confidence, about how difficult it is to prove this kind of behind-the-scenes sabotage. The post went viral. Thousands of people commented with their own stories of being undermined by people they trusted. Several career coaches and HR professionals shared it, talking about how to protect yourself from this kind of sabotage. And people figured out who I was talking about. Caitlin's name started appearing in the comments. People who'd worked with her came forward with their own stories. She'd spread rumors about a coworker to get them fired. She'd stolen ideas from junior employees and presented them as her own. She'd lied on her resume about projects she'd worked on. Her reputation in the industry was destroyed within a week. Several months have passed since then. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Caitlin moved to a different city, trying to start over. She's working at a much smaller firm now, making significantly less money. Her LinkedIn profile is bare bones, probably to avoid more public scrutiny. Some people have told me I went too far, that getting her fired and destroying her reputation was excessive. But here's what they don't understand. She did this to herself. I didn't make up lies about her. I didn't exaggerate what she did. I simply told the truth. The same way she should have 15 years ago instead of pretending to be my friend while destroying everything I worked for. My career has recovered. Once word got out about what happened, several companies that had rejected me reached out to apologize. Apparently, they'd had doubts about the negative references they'd received, but couldn't prove they were false at the time. 2 of them offered me positions. I accepted one, a senior creative director role at one of the best agencies in Chicago. The same level position I should have had years ago if Caitlin hadn't interfered. I still think about her sometimes, about all those years of friendship that were built on lies, about how many times she smiled to my face while sabotaging me behind my back, about how I trusted her with everything and she used it all against me. But mostly, I think about how grateful I am that I found out, because I could have spent the rest of my life thinking I wasn't good enough, that I was the problem, that something was wrong with me. Instead, I know the truth. I was always good enough. I was always talented enough. Someone just made sure no one else could see it. My name is Lauren Mitchell. I'm 32 years old. For 15 years, my best friend systematically destroyed my career while pretending to support me. When I finally exposed her, she lost everything. And I don't feel guilty about it for a second.